Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stronger, Healthier, and Happier, the official podcast of Hill Family Chiropractic. I've got Dr. Jared Hill with me.
Hey.
He's the founder, CEO, chiropractor, CEO of Hill Family Chiropractic. And I'm Michael. I'm office manager, host, all those fun things. And today we're going to continue our conversation on the Better Results Faster classes and what we teach in those. And so we've talked, just as by way of recap, we've talked most recently last week on when we should get tested to see if you have a subluxation.
Yes.
So refresh us real quick on a subluxation, what it is.
Subluxation. Yes. So basically, if you think about your spine, protecting the most vital system in your body, the central nervous system, right?
Yeah.
The central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, those nerves that they branch out and control your arms, your legs, your heart, your lungs. Every function in your body is protected by your spine. If your spine is shifted out of alignment and it starts to interfere with those messages or within the nervous system, not allowing it to communicate or function or send that nerve strength and energy through at 100%, that is a subluxation. So in short, a subluxation is interference in the nervous system because of your spine.
Interference in the nervous system. That's good. Something in the spine that's keeping your nervous system from functioning the way it's supposed to be. Because we don't measure whether or not we're healthy based on how we
feel,
but how we
function.
That's right. I tested him this time.
Hey.
And you passed.
Great.
Congratulations. So a question to kind of get us started off today. Last week we talked about like the bad habits we have, right? What's the bad habit?
Lots of bad habits.
I'm going to change it up this week.
Okay. All right.
What is the best thing you do for your chiropractic health or to
You mean besides getting adjusted?
Protect yourself from subluxations? Yeah, I think getting adjusted is a given for us. We work somewhere where I could just sign my name in and go get on the table and it happens. So yeah, what's the best thing you do?
The best thing would be going back to removing the things that cause the subluxation.
Gotcha.
So which would be our thoughts.
Yeah.
Get my brain wrapped around, and I'll touch on that in a second, but thoughts, removing toxins, decreasing the bad stuff from going inside my body and what I feed it.
Yeah.
And then our movement, the right type of movement to my body. So exercise is one element that's really helpful to help strengthen my spine and keep it stronger and more adaptive and less subluxated, right? Yeah. And then, of course, feeding it the proper fuel, the nutrition and the vitamins, minerals, and everything that it needs with... and then avoiding the bad stuff, right? Avoiding the toxins and things in the environment and all that, which is nearly impossible, or it is impossible.
Yeah,
but
nearly, meaning, and by nearly we mean absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, and then the last one really is the thoughts, which made me go back to what I do to try to keep my brain on track or my thoughts on track is plugging into the Word. So like a daily devotional and really focusing on Jesus and the Bible and trying to be obedient to His Word and really trying to live life focusing and listening in to the Holy Spirit. So which that is our guidance and a tool of protection that makes me make much better choices.
Yeah.
My life gives me strength for discipline and all kinds of stuff. When I'm not focused on that, my brain can go down these rabbit trails and start having fear and anxiety and stress and making bad choices and so forth, which then it can create stress to my body and ultimately subluxations.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a lot of good stuff.
Great.
Yeah. I was going to just say that the thing I've done for myself lately and really this year is I've just been more active.
Hey, that's great. That probably would have been a much easier answer.
I've been more active. I've had like phases of being active in my life where I had friends that were working out, so I kind of got into it and did it a little bit. And then I'd get really sore and be like, that's not fun. I don't want to do that anymore.
Right,
and
sure.
I did CrossFit for like 10 days. That's too extreme for Michael. It's like I went the day 2, I think they were like, this guy could be in competitions. And I was like, I literally don't even know what this thing I'm lifting is called. I can't do any competitions. Okay. And it went way too far for me too quickly. But yeah, the way we've done fitness here and just the idea. And I think one of the things I was thinking about it actually this morning, because my wife and I were talking about, because I got some results in from some metabolic health test things we did that we'll talk about on a later time. But I got those results in, and we were talking about my fitness journey, my wife and me, and she's very critical of me in a healthy, helpful way most of the time. But she was saying, if you just work out, you just don't ever do it. And I was like, come on. So I got my MyZone app and I showed her all the dots on all the calendars. I was like, I worked out last month out of 31 days. I worked out like 19 to 21 times if you count soccer practices, right? Which I wear my MyZone and I'm running around with those kids.
You bet.
I even wear my cleats for soccer practice because I run around so much. And I'm way more active than I was.
You bet.
2 years ago. And so
that's awesome.
So that's been
so
a lot.
Proof.
And I've had proof. But I think my mindset shifted. What I was going to say is I think my mindset shifted from, I want to work out so I can get buff, or I want to work out so I can be strong, or so I can be cool like them, to just being active is just part of overall just staying healthy and being,
you bet,
being there for my kids long term, being there for my family long term. So it's kind of helped. And even though I may trash talk it sometimes and have a bad attitude about working out, I still do it way more than, and that's probably why she thought I never did it, because I complain and then I just do it anyway. But hey, that's just how I roll sometimes.
Yeah. So with you being more active, let me ask you, this is kind of a side from our topic, but
it's cool. It's helpful.
What is your biggest benefit that you've noticed personally?
Yeah. Just my flexibility. I don't grunt as much when I bend down to pick up a loose sock on the floor, unless I'm sore from the workout, which that's different. But
yeah,
definitely my flexibility, my endurance. Like I can run around for a whole 1 hour soccer practice with these kids, and we can play, grown-ups versus kids, or, parents versus kids, play a little game, a scrimmage for 20, 30 minutes. And I don't feel like I have to quit halfway through,
Right.
Which I've coached soccer now for my son for like 7 seasons. And this is the first season it's been that.
That's awesome.
That's been the case.
Yeah.
And so just
as you're getting older,
like
you're able to be engaged more.
The opposite of what you would think. But it's because I'm being more active. And so my endurance is better. My strength is better. My 8-year-old son, like today, I picked him up by his collar on his coat, just being silly because he likes to be roughed up like that. I picked him up and lifted him straight up in the air, and I'm stronger. Even though he weighs more, I'm still able to just grab him and lift him up.
That's awesome.
Little simple stuff that I don't test how strong I am. Like I don't do that kind of weightlifting,
so
but it's working.
What's good about that though, just kind of leading to what we're going to be talking about, is you're able to live life better and more without getting injured, right?
Yeah.
Or you can to better capacity, to the fullest more.
Correct.
So being active is one of those key things that helps strengthen our body and hold our position of our spine, make it more adaptive and resilient. And not only with our spine, but the benefits, cardiovascular, our lung fitness, our heart fitness, and all the other things that it has. But that is one piece. We're kind of getting out of the order and everything. But I love to hear the raw element of just real life, right?
Right.
And I think that as you get over the 40s soon, someday, you'll
I'm 39,
most people
so it's coming.
start thinking about more of the longevity factor.
Right.
It's not as much, about the image elements and things like that. It's more about, hey, I want to be able to keep moving and being active and go and do and have energy and health, right? Yeah. And I think that's where the majority of probably our listeners or and patients and things like that want that as well.
Yeah, and it's great that we kind of transition through that, because today we're on part 10 of the series on better results faster, and the question today is how do we correct or stabilize? How do we correct or stabilize our spine to protect us from, damage that comes from subluxation? And that's one of the answers we'll get to even more details on, is exercise and therapy. But there's something that we in the chiropractic word, there's a phrase we use to help explain to patients and to help understand ourselves, what we can do, what our responsibilities are for ourselves to take charge of our own health and protect ourselves from the damage that can be caused by subluxations. And we call it the three-legged stool. So can you just explain what the three-legged stool is? Sure. And why that is the example we use, a three-legged stool?
Yeah. So three-legged stool, like you said, we kind of help train patients on some things they can be doing at home to stabilize or get better correction with their spine and their health. And we say three-legged stool because I don't know if the listeners have tried to sit on a two-legged stool, but it's kind of tough, right?
Never works.
It doesn't work very well. So three-legged, much more better foundation. So the 3 legs are, number 1, your adjustments in rhythm. Number 2, getting the what's number 2?
Number 2 is correcting bad habits.
Yeah, sorry. Correcting bad habits. And then number 3, getting the proper exercise or therapy, things like that. So number 1, with that, the adjustments in rhythm, that's a big question. There's a lot of patients will say, well, how often should I get adjusted, right? And that all depends, again, on our recommendations are always based on the patient's goals and our findings. What I mean by that is what is the goal of the patient? How well do they want their spine and their nervous system and their health to be? And then, well, what condition are they actually in? What is the spinal health and neurological health of that individual based on their posture and their x-rays and arthritis and body fat composition and inflammation in their body and all the things, right? So we have to take all that consideration to help put a plan together that's going to help that person individually reach that goal. So, but there's a thing that happens when we adjust the spine to get it healthier and moving better, and that problem or that subluxation potentially has been there for years, 30 plus years for a lot of people, that's caused all kinds of arthritis and degeneration in the spine because it's been there for so long coping with that imbalance. What do you think the spine wants to do after we adjust it?
It wants to just go right back to how it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where you probably have heard of people going, oh man, I go to the chiropractor, I have to keep going for the rest of life, or it goes right back. Well, to some degree that's true because the problem's been there for so long that literally the structure of the spine in many cases has molded and changed its shape to cope with that. So if you want a healthier structure and more stability, we have to start adjusting in a healthy rhythm to change the nerve and muscle memory pattern of that. So when we adjust it, it wants to go back out of place. You start adjusting that, and it actually starts to not only decrease inflammation, help the body start functioning better, feel better, but it can start creating a healthier pattern the way the spine wants to hold. But there's another step. What is that other step, do you think?
The other step
2
would be breaking your bad habits.
There you go. So breaking the bad habits.
Yeah, that's right.
So because if we keep doing the same thing over and over that's causing it, that's one thing
that's definitely going to make it go back, right?
Right. Yeah. So like a postural, right? Like we've talked about this on other episodes, is what causes it, certain postures, things like computers or how we sleep, and we sleep on our face down with our head turned to the right every night. It's going to cause problems, right? Yeah. If we sit on a wallet with a 1-inch wallet on all day long, it's these daily things that we could be doing to create a bad habit. Which, how are we going to compete with that? We've got to start removing some of those habits so it doesn't keep causing the problem over and over.
That makes sense.
So then, of course, the third thing would be once we start decreasing those bad habits and we're adjusting, getting it to become healthier, the third key element that I think a lot of patients were one of the main reasons we decided to move and build and create this fitness studio is to help this other percent is getting the body moving, right? Because to change that nerve and muscle memory pattern and to develop a healthier, stronger pattern and to strengthen those weak spots and to loosen the tighter spots that have been developed is healthy movement and exercise. And we're not talking about it doesn't have to be CrossFit or it doesn't have to be yoga or whatever. Right. It can be home things that you can be doing to just get the body moving healthily, going through different ranges of motion to start strengthening your spine and help hold the adjustments better and better.
Yeah. So we have some specific things we do, right? Like not only just regular exercise, but like we have some specific like therapies and things like that we actually like prescribe or assign to our patients. What are some of those that we do? Like just give me a couple examples of some of those therapies and what they do for us.
Right. So again, based on the person's goal, how much correction do they really want to get out of their spine? Do they want to just kind of improve it and get it to function better and decrease some of their pain, increase quality of life to a certain level that they can just be doing home stuff? Or do they really want to get maximum correction as much as possible? Or whatever it is, we want to be able to come alongside and help them. So we have technology in our office to be able to help with a lot of those things. So one example is we have a UTS, our universal traction system. Basically these cables and wires and things, we hook them up, and if they've got some curvatures in their spine or a straightened neck, we can help pull those curves back in and train the spine along with everything else for that. Also, there's home molding therapies and exercises that people can do, whether it's a cervical traction and hanging on the door or a Denny roll, which is not the kind you eat, but a
dinner roll.
Not a dinner roll, a Denny roll that helps to mold the curves in your spine as well. They can do at home. So basing it, again, on what the patient wants and then how much effort they want to be putting into it, to what level, then we can help give them home stuff or even in-office things to facilitate with that.
Awesome. So that goes along with just regular exercise and regular movement. I mean, there's also movement we give them that you don't need equipment for, right? Like simple exercises and movements you can do. We just try everything we can to help patients complete, what's on this 3-legged stool. I'm going to rewind just a little and ask a couple questions about the other two legs of the
Maybe
stool.
before you do that, one thing you just touched on, I think it'd be good too, is with that home exercises. If somebody does have a head forward posture or straightened curve, or they have a shift in their hips and the pelvis, there's mirror image exercises, kind of like probably what you're referring to, that we can give them some things to work on at home or on our vibration therapy plates that we have in the office to help speed that process up, to help, again, train the spine to become more stable, or to reverse that those bad curvatures or those bad postural habits, to get a stronger, healthier spine, because we know for a fact that the human spine works more efficiently when it's in alignment and has the proper curves. All the research correlates with that, and we've gone over some of the studies in previous episodes as well. And so if the more we can improve that, helps to hold the spinal health better, which then allows the nervous system to run more efficiently and for her to live life more to the fullest. Yeah. Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to add
that's good. That's good. And so to go back to the other two legs, to just ask a couple questions about those. The first one is about adjustments. What are, we kind of addressed why they need to be in rhythm, why that's important. You know, I like to say to patients, you know, your care plan, if you have a 4-month care plan, it's based on you getting the number of adjustments recommended within this 4-month time period. This is why we're so adamant about chasing patients down who are missing appointments and getting them back in to make up those missed dates, even if it means coming in more than recommended for a couple weeks to catch up on them, right? Because you recommend the frequency you recommend, and that's what that means. And so there's that. But then what are some of the techniques and things that you use as a chiropractor? Different tools, different equipment, things. Because if you come in for the first time and you sit in our office, you're going to hear loud bang sounds. You're going to hear click, click, click sounds. You're going to hear the sounds of like on people's backs, and you may go, what are they doing to people in there, right? It's
a construction zone.
It's not quite as bad as going to the dentist and hearing like it's not that bad, but you know, there's people that come in that wonder what do they do back there.
Instead of crying, there's a lot of laughing going on in our office.
Exactly. So. There's a lot of laughing at our office.
Nothing bad about dentists, and we love our dentists and stuff like that. But,
we do.
Okay.
So much I rarely ever go to one. That's not good. No, but so the question is, you know, what are some of those things that we're hearing that we may see, the techniques, the tools we may see?
Yeah. So the first thing you mentioned was the adjustments in the rhythm and getting those. It's kind of like, just to touch one thing on that, is if somebody was going to a personal trainer and they're wanting to have a goal of losing a certain amount of weight, or they're wanting to be training to a level of running a marathon in a certain time, so that coach has them doing specific exercises to help build and reach that goal. And if they are supposed to come in twice a week, or go exercise and do something specifically for twice a week, and they only start doing it once a week, they're only getting 50% of the care that they need, or they only get into how likely are they going to achieve the goal that they're wanting to have? Not very likely. So that's why we're, like you said, we're trying to help keep patients accountable to reach the goals that they want, right? But the sounds and the tools, it can be various things, you know, because there's all kinds of different techniques that can be used to restore the proper function and adjust the spine to remove that interference, so that way the body can start healing and repairing. And one thing that's really important to mention is the healing happens in between the adjustments. We don't put the healing in the body; it's already there, right? So, which is helping to remove the interference so the body can do its job, meaning that subluxation. It's interfering with the communication of the body to be able to heal and repair and do what it's designed and created to from birth. So the different tools, some with our hands, right, can be adjusting with our hands, and sometimes it can cause popping noises, sometimes not. But what we're doing is restoring function in the spine with very specifically, and that's the difference too, is we don't do general manipulation to just try to get mobility in a joint. Okay, that's really important. Is a person can manipulate their spine on their own at home. They can twist their neck around and their back around, and they can do all kinds of stretches. And there's a lot of times things can pop for them. And unfortunately, sometimes if they're doing that repetitively, that can actually cause weakness in their spine and hypermobility, and hold stability of their spine less. Yeah. So it's very important to be clear, is the type of chiropractic care that we want to deliver is not a general manipulation of the body of what's going to pop. It's looking, detecting, and correcting the very specific primary subluxations that are interfering with the body's ability to heal and repair. So once we identify that, making a very specific adjustment in that location to free up what's not functioning well, that's not moving well, and then leaving the rest of the spine alone, except for those segments that need to be adjusted, so that way, because we want strength and stability, right? So that can happen with many ways. Like I said, the hands, right? But another tool is doing drops. Some people call it like Thompson technique is one of the techniques where they can do drop tables with the pelvis can kind of lift up, and it helps use gravity to help shift and adjust those pelvic bones and the hips and the lower back to help balance it out where the spine is sitting on that, helping that be more level. Or same thing with the cervical. You can do drop tables, or the thoracic. Then there's a tool called the activator, which is instead of as much force, it's a higher velocity. It goes, some people say 300 times faster than what someone can adjust with their hands. So you need much less force to stimulate and get the spine to unlock and allow the nervous system to communicate. This is a great tool. It can be dialed down and to a very low level. We use this a lot on infants and babies, or like an osteoporotic woman that you wouldn't want to be doing the drop table or thrust, but you can still stimulate the spine to remove interference to allow better function. There's tonal techniques for cranial or sacral techniques with that. There's also, we have an arthro stem, which is kind of like that, the jackhammer that you did a much better sound. But that a lot of patients love that, and it's really helpful, especially if somebody has a lot of arthritis and degeneration, because it needs healthier movement in there. And that arthro stem can really help stimulate the mechanoreceptors in that joint, kind of like oiling the joints, and get better communication there. So there's, what else am I missing? I mean, there's
what else? Yeah, do you use anything else? There's some new stuff, you guys. I don't know if you use it on patients much yet.
Yeah, it's just a different. We've been learning some other coupling different techniques to the spine that can be very helpful with different situations. But we're always wanting to learn and grow and have a lot of tools in the bag, because everybody's different and how they respond, right? So we don't adjust every single person the same way because everybody's different. Yeah,
cool. All right, so kind of to wrap up, to finish up, I want to ask a question about the number 2 leg, because we've spent quite a bit of time on the fitness part and the exercise. That's great. The therapies. We talked about adjustments and kind of how those work. Let's finish on the bad habits. I want to know, like, if you could tell people the first thing we're going to tell you is find a good chiropractor and get in there and start getting adjusted.
At least get checked.
Or at least get checked and see if you have some subluxations. The second thing I want to ask is, what is the one habit that you're going to tell people, stop doing this? Fix this habit. If you do nothing else, fix this. Is there anything like that you'd say?
Well, I would say a really big bad habit in today's society is lack of movement.
Okay.
Meaning that because everything with the technology age, and we can literally do everything by sitting in on our couch with ordering Uber Eats and all the things, right? And which, so our society is just getting less and less active in movement. And what we find with most joints, they don't wear out, they rust out. And,
that's interesting.
So whether it's shoulders or the spine or issues. So if we can get people moving better, and then of course the other, it's hard to pick one because it goes into like the chemicals and the food and all the, and then of course our thoughts and the stresses, and you just kind of it goes on and on. But the first thing that popped in my mind was if we could just get people to start moving better. And that's where, of course, the fitness studio, we have different classes here or personal training to help, because it can be intimidating going to different gyms if you don't know the right kind of movements or exercises.
Right.
And again, kind of trying to help train people to fish for themselves, be able to go and do exercises and do home things on their own is a goal of ours.
Good. I was wondering if you might say self-adjusting.
Yeah.
When I see people grab their chin and just push their head up to crack their neck, I'm always like, you shouldn't do that. Like, I know for a fact, I've been adjusted so many times, and I don't think my head ever moves that direction when a chiropractor adjusts my neck. Like, I'm pretty confident that that's not how it's supposed to happen.
Right. Well, that's kind of the thing with that self-manipulation, manipulating the spine. And amazingly, there are some times when that can help, right?
Sure.
But if you just one thing to think about, if you find yourself in a habit of self-adjusting yourself, that may be a sign that there's something not quite right.
Yeah.
It's not stable, and it keeps stimulating. Gosh, there's something wrong in here, and it keeps making you want to do that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, those are sometimes the harder patients to get to stabilize, because they've chronically been self-adjusting and manipulating, that it's a weaker part of the spine, and that person is really important to not only adjust the segment that needs it and leave the rest alone, but then to be exercising the muscles around that to start creating the stability in there. Because as soon as they sleep a little wrong or they get under tension and stress, then it wants to go right back to where the problem is. So it's a balancing act of several factors. But again, if we just kind of align our life and our lifestyle the way we're designed and created to be able to move and how we think and what we put in our body, to the basic tools of just be thinking about, for you personally, if you're listening, is just to think about, okay, what's the one area that I need to stop doing and how I think? Or what's the one area that I need to stop doing when how I eat, or what I put in my body, or if it's a soda that we drink several times a day, or and then movement, like just those three categories. Just think about one in each category of what to start or stop doing, and then just start with that, and you'll be amazed of how that little change can start your path or your journey to improving your health and quality of life for the future. Yeah,
something as simple as what you said. Just starting to shift your focus on your thoughts to Christ and to the Word. Or for me, just deciding that being active is not just about wanting to follow a trend or be buff or something. It's about health and something. Just those little mindset shifts are sometimes just really huge for our health. And I think that's, if you find something in each of those three categories, that's the three-legged stool. You've already started building the foundation on your stool, and things can get better.
And if you need any help in those areas, reach out. We can help guide you to do something next once you happen.
Exactly.
One quick little tip too is sometimes it's easier for some people to focus on adding something rather than taking something away. So for example, like especially with nutrition, instead of like, oh, I need to stop doing this, stop doing that, or cut this out, cut that out. Well, maybe start focusing on, hey, I want to at least have one salad a day.
Yeah.
Just a minimum wherever you're at, or I need to at least drink, 4 glasses of water or a glass of water with every meal, or what. Just, it all depends on where everybody's at in their individual process. But sometimes adding something is a little easier to start off with, and that by adding some good, it automatically can start pushing out some of the negative or the bad.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks very much for listening. And Dr. Hill, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us again.
You bet. Yeah,
super helpful. And
thank you for your wisdom.
I'm getting, and
your funny stories.
Yeah, that's more of what I'm here for, is the funny stories, less wisdom. But I will say this, speaking of funny stories and everything, we're coming up to the end of this series on the Better Results Faster class. We're getting close to the end. I want to end with a question and answer episode where we're just answering people's questions, and that's the whole thing. So if you're listening right now or you're watching, if you want to, please email us at info@hillfamilychiropractic.com. That's just info@hillfamilychiropractic.com. We will take those. We're going to gather questions over the next couple weeks as we finish up these next few episodes. Also, this episode's coming out on Thanksgiving Day, so happy Thanksgiving to those who are listening on the day it comes out, or around then. Happy Thanksgiving week. But yeah, so we're going to
be thankful.
Be thankful. That's super good for one of the three-legged stools, your thoughts, just being grateful for what you have. And so we want to answer questions for Dr. Hill to just kind of dig into something that we've shared a lot